Coming towards the end of the year, coming towards the end of the decade. So Shaka's had a look back at the last 10 years, and you're going to come up with your top 3 in the Premier League team of the decade. 4 of them have won the trophy, 3 of them have won it more than once. And Manchester City lead the way with Chelsea, with 10 total trophies, including European ones. So, are you going to take that into account when you make up your top 3?
This might be a little bit boring and anticlimactic at this point, but I'm going to go Manchester United in a 3.
Okay.
And I understand, well, keep in mind, we're talking about the decade.
Yep.
Not just what we've seen in Manchester United of late. The early part of the decade, I don't think you can question Manchester United deserve to be on this list.
2 Premier Leagues, an FA Cup, 2 League Cups, and the Europa League. Decent.
Yeah, listen, they've been desperately poor.
Of late.
Second half of the decade. But we have to take the full decade into consideration. With that in mind, I think it's a lot closer between the top 2. And your jacket just nicely touched who I've got in at number 2 in Chelsea. And again, it's easy to kind of forget how good Chelsea have been throughout because they've gone through these peaks and troughs. They've won titles and then sacked the manager next year. And I think that maybe has disguised some of their successes, particularly over the course of the last decade. Also, a team that's won the Champions League, I think that's hard to discount.
So the team that is at number 1 has to be better in your eyes than Chelsea, who won 3 Premier Leagues, 3 FA Cups, a League Cup, a Champions League, and 2 Europa Leagues.
Yeah, and listen, in terms of number of titles, as we saw from the graphic, City and Chelsea are even. I could understand the gasps of Chelsea fans, given that one of their titles is the Champions League, which City yet to win, despite their spending, despite the seeming need of the ownership group to win that title. But 4 league titles, and I think more to the point, breaking the 100-point barrier in the Premier League, raising the bar to a point that I'm not sure we ever thought we'd see Premier League teams go. Some of their football, particularly in the second half of the decade, has been simply breathtaking. We have many a discussion as to whether that team of maybe 4 or 5 years ago, or what was it, a couple of years ago, where they broke the 100-point barrier, best in the Premier League era. Once you start having those discussions around a team, I don't think you can argue too much with City being number 1.
Am I right in saying that's a lot closer, 1 to 2, than 2 to 3?
Yeah, absolutely. This had me thinking.
Okay.
This really had me thinking. In fairness, Liverpool, Arsenal, just given their lack of silverware, even though what we're seeing from Liverpool this season has been something to breath hold, we're talking about the decade. Leicester City, I think maybe the story of the decade or the season of the decade. But taking all 10 seasons into consideration, I'm not sure that even those heroics from a couple of years ago gets them onto this list.
City top, Chelsea second, but a flip-flop. I don't think anyone would complain if that was the case either.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.